always interesting at first because people do not appreciate their importance. But I believe as you stick with it and you discuss it and you demonstrate to them the importance, that they will find it interesting at some point. Give the people what they want. I'm in full agreement with that. But very often, the people want what they know because they are not being led and drawn into something that is an improvement over what they know or what they are accustomed with. Now, I am not a brain who has the answers and who knows all of those things. Nobody does. But as we discuss them, I think, in a meaningful way, then we realize that there's so many things that we can make discussion out of. So 4533-911 is the number. If you want to call us, we are ready to take your calls. I understand that this is new to you, but don't be shy. Don't be a stranger. Same old person, ready to receive you. Good afternoon to you once again. Let me see who's that who's sending me what seems to be a nice message. You're all very nice. Who do I have there? All right. Cecilia Allen. Yes, I know that name. Cecilia Allen says, yep, we missed that voice. All the best. Thank you very much, Cecilia. There's another one called Claude who says, good after bossman of the facts. Thank you very much for that vote of confidence. Hector says, welcome back, Shelton. Thank you so very much, Hector. And another one says that they are watching. Are we getting a call now? All right, we're getting our first call. Now, I should have come armed with a prize for the first caller. But just the same, welcome. Thank you for being our first.
So, will I get a prize?
I'll find out what the prize is. You know, sometimes it may be a prize.
Welcome back, Shelton. Welcome back, Shelton.
Thank you very much, my friend.
I like the voice, but I miss the depth of your analysis, the discussion, the conversations. As a friend of the National Consumer Association, this year we celebrate, this month is National Consumer Month, we celebrate World Consumer Rights Day on the 15th. I hope I'm starting off by telling you to remember that.
Yes.
You know,
I never forgot it. I never forgot it in Antigua.
On World Consumer Rights Day. And I let other people speak. I just called to welcome you, and then you're in there for analysis. And there's nothing that I look forward to. What the Antiguans were enjoying, I want to enjoy it. So I hope you're there for us for the next few decades.
Do I have so much time?
Yeah, man. You have about 2 decades to go.
All right. Okay. My friend, I'm talking to a deacon, a man who deals with things of the spirit, so I'm going to take that in trust and in faith, okay?
All right.
Thank you very much. All the best to you.
All right, then. All the best.
All right. Ernest Alfred, good afternoon to you. He says, I've been using that word for the past year. Focus. Yes, my friend, focus. We need to focus. We need to stay focused. It's very important at this time. Terry Alex says, you see why people missed you, Shelton? I'm still trying to figure it out, Terry. I never thought I was that great, by the way. But, you know, it's so nice, you know, to find some appreciation. Doesn't mean there's always agreement. Doesn't mean that I won't make mistakes, but I'm looking to people like you for the guidance that you've always provided. Laura Eugene says, good day to you, Shelton. Welcome back. Please be sure to ask Mr. Hille about the travel portal and when they're looking to exclude. And when are they looking to exclude locals? Why should I have to get approval to come home? Thank you. Well, I can tell you that coming back to St. Lucia from Antigua, I had to do that travel authorization thing in advance, get my COVID test, upload the results and so on, and all my information before, I think a day or two afterwards, I got the travel authorization. As a matter of fact, the travel agency said they could not book me or they could not sell me the ticket until I got the travel authorization, which I got without too much, you know, without any trouble. There's just a lot of bureaucracy. I just want to say this, folks, and it's not because I am such a friend of officialdom and governments and all of that thing. The ministries of health and the authorities that put in place those things, they don't do it because they want to visit some mischief upon us. They don't do it because they enjoy doing it and they want to be killjoys and take the fun out of life for us, because it takes the fun out of life for them. To always have a quarreling public, to always, you know, nurses who have to monitor those things at the airport. You know, coming back for the first time, I saw my friend Alicia Baptist for the first time in many years, you know, at the airport, I suppose, supervising things and so on. Nurse Alicia Baptist, I think, Last I knew, she was, well, I don't know, she's been president of the Nurses Association. They don't like all the overtime and all the long hours and so on. They are doing it in order to protect us. They have to put in place a monitoring and surveillance system. I'll talk about that a bit more, but we have another caller waiting. Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to The Real Issues.
Hi, good afternoon. Welcome back.
Thank you very much.
Okay. You said things, speak of what you think of it.
Can you speak up a bit for me, please?
Is importance to you. And yeah, sometimes I think I listened to you and you said that you was not really in support of Radio San Lucia returning because another government would just come and just shut it over again. To me, it never happened before. It only just happened once. And I mean, Radio San Lucia was of importance to many people because at the end of the day, if you listen, it brought so much to people. There is so much, all things that were taking place in St. Lucia. It's the only station that already have carried out almost everything taking place in St. Lucia. And then for it to have been shut down in that way, it shouldn't have been. And I just feel that it should be brought back because at the end of the day, what you get out of it was a lot. I mean, you can go around listening to other stations because as much as I listen to them, I would still listen to the station, but it's what it brought to people of St. Lucia. They covered everything. And sometimes we miss that when things are happening, you have no idea. Parliament is going on. To only get for Parliament, you have to go for NTA to listen. Sometimes you could have a little radio and sit and listen to the things, and you don't have none of those things. And I really think it's important that, then we try, because at the end of the day, we must have a state-owned radio station.
Okay, let me just clarify what I said, and the clarification is just in repetition.
Yeah.
All I said was, if Radio St. Lucia is going to be a football, and it's going to go through that revolving door, that if and when the government changes, it's going to get shut down. Another government comes in, opens it. Another one comes, it shuts it down. That's not going to be helpful or good for it at all. Radio, anybody who works in it understand that its success depends on many things, but stability and consistency are key. That's one of them. You mentioned, if I can just finish this one line. You mentioned that was the only time when it was closed, I think in 2017 or whatever. Radio St. Lucia has been shut down at least 3 times. 3 times. I mean, you can ask people like Kirby Alley, who has worked there before, Judy DeTurville and so on. In fact, I think the second time when it was shut down, I do remember Judy especially because she said, I'm not going back. Even if they reopen, I am not going back. She made that point. Now, let me just finish that one point. On all 3 occasions that Radio St. Lucia has been shut down, one time I think Keith Weeks was the general manager at the time, and you could have seen pictures of him putting his arms around people, consoling them. On each time it was the same party that was in office that did it on all 3 occasions. So all I'm saying, it can reopen, but if there's not going to be some kind of governance or legal framework to prevent, this political this whimsical political approach to it and so on, of just shutting it down, it's probably better not to reopen it, but to have it reinvented in some other form. The final thing I want to say, if you'll permit me, ma'am, look at me now. I am on NBC, Real FM, all right? I'm working for another radio station. How appropriate do you think it is for me, Shelton Daniel, to be on Real FM, on NBC, and to be rooting for the reopening of what would be a competitor to NBC and Real FM?
Understand that.
All right? I might be begging for Dr. McDowell or whoever is responsible to fire me on the spot.
I understand that.
And for me to come back to St. Lucia, all right? And to get fired on the spot for coming to root for Radio St. Lucia. People would have every right to laugh at me when I think my history at Radio St. Lucia. And I was never fired, but they stopped the programs. They continued to pay me, to be fair to them, and just had me frozen and on ice there. It's all part of the revolving door.
And this shouldn't be.
Yes, it shouldn't be.
Shouldn't. Because every station has its place and its popularity and everything. But I always say that at the end of the day, we should have a state-owned radio station. But at the end of the day, that's how it goes. And I think that kind of game that is played, something should be done about it. That it could never happen.
And that was my point. The game, the revolving door, the constant thing, and so on. This just is not good, especially for what is supposed to be a national broadcaster. Before I left, or Radio St. Lucia closed the last time, and by the way, Radio St. Lucia in that time had an excellent general manager. I won't mention his name, but I mean, very young man. But I can tell you, he was just so intelligent, forward thinking, and so on. There was a plan to merge Radio St. Lucia with NTN as state broadcasters and call the overall entity NBN, National Broadcasting Network. And so Radio St. Lucia would be the radio arm of it, and NTN would be the television arm of it. I don't know why it never became more advanced than the plan was at the time, but if a government decides to reinvent it or to bring it back as a state broadcaster, public broadcaster, and so on, so that it does not become a direct competitor to stations like, Real FM and so on and so forth, but it functions as the state broadcaster that you've alluded to, maybe that is a sensible framework. But for it to have remained a publicly owned but privately run corporation and so on, that the government of the day can pull the plug on it at any time and so on, all of that.
And livelihoods have been
exactly
just taken away.
Yes, exactly. And I'm telling you, a lot of the people that we knew and we admired there at the time, we probably will never see them back again. Probably. Never. I could name names, but I won't. But I'm telling you, people don't like this kind of disruption in their life, and they probably may not want to go back there. Some have moved on, some have retired, some have even died, and so on. It is a sad thing to cause that disruption, not just in the station, but in the contribution that people make, and also in the attachment that people have had to it, such as yourself who want to see it. But I can't come on Real FM NBC rooting for what would be a competitor. If I get fired today, know you have yourself to blame, okay?
Okay.
All right, thank you very much. Nice hearing from you. I recognize that voice. All right, 4533911 is the number to dial, and you can also send us WhatsApp messages. The WhatsApp line is 724-7325, 724-7325, and I need, of course, to put the area code on that. It's, of course, 758, so my Antiguan friends, who I'm seeing some of you flashing on our Facebook Live, and other places as well, for all the diaspora when you're on Facebook Live. The area code is 758-724-7325. Once again, area code 758-724-7325. And the line, area code 758-4533-911. This is The Real Issues on Real FM here in St. Lucia, a new program, first broadcast with me, Shelton Daniel. I'm going to be asking Honorable Ernest Hilaire, in his capacity as Minister of Information, those questions and others when he's able to join us in just a moment. So, Tech, are we able to try to make contact with the Honorable Minister now? Or I think if he's able to call us, he will, but I just want to make sure that we're not missing each other in flight, flying past each other, and he is, in fact, trying. We continue taking your calls, 4533911 and WhatsApp 724-7325. Good afternoon to you, Kimber James. Thank you for joining us here, and also to Ivy Michelle. Terry Alex says, budget, what she said, budget no broadcast, RSL. Let me see. Terry Alex is making some good points, and I think I know why. Budget no broadcast, RSL would surely have broadcast the entire budget. She also says, what the last government did not understand, they expect RSL to broadcast every and any government activity, don't pay for the services, but want the station to make a profit, can't work. I have to tell you, I wasn't too familiar with all the issues that were there. If it was me that they didn't like so much that they wanted to shut it down to get me out, I was gone a long time when it was shut. They had me, the programs discontinued. So they could have continued with more agreeable people that they had inside there. John Robert Lee says, I agree with your views on RSL. The frequencies could be reactivated through NTN to ensure broadcast of Parliament and other national events, a kind of NPR. Yes, thank you very much for that, Robert. Thank you very much. So, there are views coming now about Radio St. Lucia, and I think it's because of me, of course, and my past association with them. What's that? Wilma Amida says, welcome Shelton on your debut program. I like the name. Thank you very much for that. And James says, what's up, Cuzzo? Listening? Yes, many people who are James are my relatives. My surname would have been James, but for the fact that my late mother married a man whose surname was Daniel. He also has gone on to the great beyond. But result of that, many people whose surname James, had it not been that my mother married my father, who was Daniel, I might have well been Shelton James if it had been seen fit to give me that name. So, to you, Mr. James, thank you very much and appreciate your listening. This is The Real Issues on Real FM with me, Shelton Daniel, a new program that will air Mondays to Fridays from 12:30 to 2 p.m. It's our first program, so we do expect that we will continue to get smoother and better as we go on. And I'm also putting you on notice that we'll be having a new TV program starting this Sunday. Sometime in the afternoon. We'll be telling you the exact time very shortly, but we've chosen the name for that program, and it is to be called Focus. Good afternoon to my friend Diego and Nigel as well, and in the studio with me, technician Marlon. Meeting him for the first time, I suspect. There was another Marlon who keeps me company when I do Can I Help You with Richard Frederick? But that's not the same Marlon. It looks like this is the home to many Marlons. Maybe that's the... okay. It's not Marlon, it's Shane. Yeah, there are two Shanes here, aren't there? You know, so getting it a bit mixed up. Marlons and Shanes, you know, we have them here in equal measure. Thanks for the great job that you are doing. The number to dial, 4533911. The Real Issues is the name of the program. And you can also get us on the WhatsApp, which is also being put up for your benefit as well. Looking at the Facebook Live board, and of course, you know, just getting accustomed to all those things. Let me see. Someone says it wouldn't be good for the mental health of the workers either to be sitting around nervously. Oops, seems like I kind of lost let me see, why did I just lose? Oops, sorry about that. Let's see. Okay, I didn't get it quite well. I was reading the message and it just popped around. All right, let's see. This one says it wouldn't be good for the mental health of the workers either to be sitting around nervously biting your nails, wondering if you're about to lose your job once the government changes. Is not the ideal situation for anyone to be in. And I kind of agree with that. You know, there are people who give this thing their all, who put their all into it, and then to just find that every time, you know, there's something, you know, like that. A lot of the people at that radio station were around for a very long time, and to have their lives being disrupted. There are people that who actually went through all three of the closures, you know, all three of the closures they went through. Miriam Joan Alexander, thank you very much for your greetings. Good afternoon to you as well. And Wilma Almeida says, technicians are the wheels of any program. Always shout them up. All right, and I think I've done that. I've just about done that this time, although I got the name wrong. John Robert Lee says, and let us have some Creole too. Certainly, yes, certainly. We must have the Creole, and I am one who's fairly fluent in the Creole, and I can assure you being away for 5 years has not taken that away from me. But I don't want to go into the territory of Yadi and Jaim. I think they are the guys who do it in the morning. But of course, if anyone wants to converse in Creole, you know that yours truly can handle himself well in that department. Curtis James says, Cuzzo, Shasney burned a whole house to kill a cockroach. Shasney closed Radio St. Lucia to get rid of you. That was detrimental to St. Lucia. I wouldn't say so. Like I said, they had already gotten me out of the way effectively, shut down the programs that I was doing. But they never fired me. I got to be honest with you. They continued to pay me until the station was formally, officially, finally closed. I was never terminated. Never happened. I don't want to lie on anybody. I don't want to say that anybody did anything because of me. It was quite some time after I was, to all intents and purposes, gone, that the decision was made to shut down Radio St. Lucia. What I've always said, if the debts of that station was so bad, then how come we incurred debts in so many other things that were umpteen times much more dubious than it was in that situation? But let's hope we can join the minister responsible for information. All right. Someone has sent a message saying that Russia was the only European nation not to enslave black people. Okay, don't know what the significance of that is, but my friend, I can tell you, I have apprehensions about the moves being made by some groupings and so on, especially when they comprise almost all the former European colonial powers that had colonies and that had slaves and so on in Africa, in the Caribbean, in the Americas and so on. I mean, you talk about Spain, you talk about Portugal, you talk about, I mean, Germany at one time had colonial possessions. It lost all of them after the First World War and so on. You talk about, you know, so many of them are in that same grouping of the EU and NATO that I sometimes wonder about them, especially their postures now. They still don't want to seriously consider reparations in respect of black people because they paid endless reparations and did so many things essentially to compensate the Jews and Israel and so on. Look at what is being done to Haiti. Up to now, France cannot come to some reasonable posture on, you know, reparations for Haiti and giving Haiti the kind of hand for the role that it played in its backwardness and its development. Certain countries in Africa, I think, are still fundamentally enslaved to France and so on. They have to deposit certain amounts from their central bank with France. A whole lot of funny arrangements that are going in place, and they're all in that same EU NATO arrangements. I have my little funny feelings about them. I'm going to tell you that straight out. But sometimes, because we have misgivings about one person, does not mean we should condone something that is done by another person who is an enemy of that person. The enemy of my enemy is not automatically and necessarily my friend. What Russia and Vladimir Putin have done to Ukraine is something that also chills me to the bone about big and powerful countries can just come in and do whatever they want to weaker and smaller countries simply because they can do it. I disagreed with the manner that Gaddafi was overthrown and was killed, and the role that was played by those same European powers, the NATO and the United States of America, led by a black man, an African, we can say, a first-generation African descendant called Barack Obama. You know, I don't like this kind of thing being done to countries. Whatever the problems with Venezuela, you know, the bone-crushing economic assault on them and so on, to kill off their oil industry, to place them under sanctions, to put them in such situation of difficulty, I do not support it. Russia and China remain friends to Venezuela and may have given Venezuela a lifeline or a breathing hole, but for that I am not going to condone going to invade Ukraine. They are not attacking you. At least America had the excuse where they said Afghanistan was being used as a staging ground for terrorist attacks and sheltering Osama bin Laden, and Saddam Hussein was developing nuclear weapons, even though that turned out to be, you know, fake news at the end of it all. He had previously invaded Kuwait. You know, there are those little pretexts and those pseudo justifications. But in the case of Ukraine, I just have not heard a coherent and sensible one. Ukraine wants to move closer to the West. Ukraine, you know, nothing about Ukraine is sponsoring guerrilla and terrorist attacks. You just invade them because you don't want them to decide their own destiny of who they're going to align. I cannot agree with that. But like I said, there's often a lot more to those things than just one side of the story, which we in the Caribbean, as part of the West, are more exposed to and perhaps much more easily influenced by. This is The Real Issues, a new program, first broadcast here on Real FM with me, Shelton Daniel. It will be aired 5 days a week, Mondays to Fridays, holidays accepted, and on Sundays in the afternoon, we intend to roll out a new program called Focus. We'll continue taking your calls and your messages, and looking forward to having that conversation with Honorable Dr. Ernest Hilaire shortly. Back in a moment.
.3 FM.
St. Lucia. Get ready to win big. It's your time to win with Digicel. Get ready. Digicel. Better together.
McDowell's Moringa Olifera n'y passe 92 nutrients et 46 qualités antioxydants. Moringa zajeouyan haut 300 différents diseases. Et n'y a low vitamine ou ka jwen nan foutage ek lejim. McDowell's Moringa is the miracle herb. Et ça c'est word. Bon and reason. Gram for gram nutritional comparison. Ou ka yi di mwen fou. Mais Moringa Olifera ka bayo tout coup. Il y a 2 fois protéine yogurt, 4 fois potassium figmi, 4 fois calcium lait, 4 fois vitamine E carotte, 7 fois vitamine C orange, 4 fois fiber oats, 9 fois feki en spinach. McDowell's Moringa Olifera, c'est un power pack pour toute sa body à lac. Actuellement, on s'ajoute McDowell's Moringa Olifera, un health service center upstairs Napa, et toutes leading outlets.
Crystal clear, 100% solution. Produced locally, makes me feel so proud. It's the best quality water for you. Live your best life and make it crystal clear, crystal clear, authentic and pure. We are solution. Crystal clear.
Sodium free and the proud recipient of the 2018 and 2019 Grand Gold Month Selection Quality Award. Our choice is clear, crystal clear.
Have you heard of a well in the South?
Yes, Southwell Supermarket.
Southwell Supermarket, located in Beaufort, is a jewel of convenience and affordability. Our well-stocked supermarket caters to all your grocery shopping needs. Not only does Southwell do retail, but we also have a wholesale department. Came here for the shopping? Experience the convenience of paying your utility bills at our Shore Pay outlet. Feeling lucky? Purchase your lottery tickets at Southwell, and your shopping experience is made unforgettable by our unsurpassed customer service. So many reasons why Southwell is the right choice. Our extended shopping hours are 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. weekdays and Saturdays, and 8 a.m. 1:30 p.m. Sundays and holidays. Southwell Supermarket. Save more with right price, right store, right choice.
The man, the voice. Your hero is back. Raw facts, no fluffs, sound analysis. Shelton Daniel is back to deal with issues, real issues.
We are being told by a minister of government who does things in trust, who holds them in custody and who stewards them on behalf of the public, telling that public that I cannot tell you who we have selected to do the technical audit.
Real issues, 12:30 to 2 p.m. Monday to Friday. Exclusive to Real FM 913 and 915, MBC TV, and MBC Real FM on Facebook.
Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in and staying with us on this, the first broadcast of a new program here on Real FM. The Real Issues, it's called, with me, Shelton Daniel. And like I said, we will be having it every weekday, Monday to Friday, from 12:30 to 2. Without any further ado, let's say good afternoon, welcome, and thanks so much for joining us. Honorable Dr. Ernest Hilaire. He is, we all know, the Deputy Prime Minister and the Minister responsible for tourism, investment, creative industries, culture, and information. He is also the elected Member of Parliament for the constituency of Castries South and first Deputy Political Leader of the governing St. Lucia Labour Party. Honourable Minister, good afternoon, and once again, thanks and welcome.
Hi, good afternoon to you, Shelton, and certainly a delight to have you back in St. Lucia. And I think we all miss you, the high level of professionalism, integrity, and class that you bring to your program says a lot. And we're certainly looking forward to how your program will evolve, and certainly looking to participate in discussing the real issues.
Okay. Thank you for that, Mr. Minister. I can't think of a better place to start. You've returned to the country recently from leading a delegation to Expo Dubai 2020, displaced by 2 years, we know, because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Do you just kind of give us, a little brief roundup of how this went and coming back from it? What is it that St. Lucia can look forward to, or what do we have out of it that we can call some feel good?
Well, I mean, certainly, Shelton, I want to start off by probably saying a little bit about Expo because a lot has been said, and we just need to clear it up and so solutions understand what the Expo is all about. Expo, the expositions, in short, they are called Expo, it has been going on for decades, and I think over 100 years actually, where the countries of the world gather in one particular city to show off their culture, their civilization, what their achievements are, whatnot. A few years ago, I was a permanent rep to the International Bureau for Expositions. That is the organization that actually oversees the Expo. I was part of the assessment team that went to a number of cities assessing their suitability to host Expo. St. Lucia supported Dubai, and we voted for Dubai, and Dubai was awarded Expo 2020. So this is just another one of the many expositions that have been held and will be held in the future. It is not a Labour Party thing or UWP thing. So notions that, it was UWP that, in a sense, organized for Expo, whatnot, that's really not the case. Of course, the government change in 2016, the United Workers' Party came in, and they were responsible for national preparations. Again, the government change in 2021, the Labour Party came in. At that point, we looked at some of the arrangements that were put in place. Because remember, it's Expo 2020, meaning it would have been held in 2020. But because of COVID, it was postponed to start from October 2021. We looked at the plans that were there. We felt we were not happy with the use that was going to be made of the opportunity to showcase and to promote St. Lucia. We looked at the budget that was established. We looked at the money that was sourced from CIP, about $1.2 million. And we felt the money was not being used in the best interest of St. Lucia and to portray St. Lucia in the best way possible. We did not believe that Expo 2020 should have been a chance for persons to just travel to Dubai for fun and frolic, but we really wanted a substantial presentation of St. Lucia at Expo 2020. So one of the first things we decided to do was not to just go there for Independence Day and to show off independence activities. What we wanted was to promote our destination, brand St. Lucia. So we started off the first day of the celebrations by having a business forum. We started off with the Central Tourism Authority presenting to tour operators of the region. The region is called MENA, the Middle East and North Africa. And we had tour operators from that region showing off St. Lucia, our achievements, our offerings, whatnot. Then we had a discussion on investment in St. Lucia. We had a number of investors who sat at a panel and presented why they were in St. Lucia, what was good about St. Lucia, and what their products were all about. We also spoke about the future, what areas St. Lucia would offer for investment. Then we did CIP, which was a real tremendous session where we actually had persons who had just become St. Lucian citizens explaining why they chose St. Lucia, what about St. Lucia that attracted them. We spoke about the program. I spoke about the changes that will take place in the program. And at the end of it, we had a business connect session where everybody met and talked to each other, discussing St. Lucia and what St. Lucia offered to the world. The following day was the real formality day, the celebration of St. Lucia's independence. It started off with the exchange of speeches by myself and the Minister for Tolerance of the UAE. And then we had a cultural presentation. We had a cultural show. We had a cooking show, we had a fashion show, we had a parade around the expo site, and in the evening we culminated with a huge cultural presentation. And all of that took place around the St. Lucia Pavilion. The St. Lucia Pavilion had been recognized as one of the exciting pavilions to visit. When you do go to the pavilion, you feel the vibe, you feel the spirit of St. Lucia, the decor, the way we've set it up, and it has become well known in the expo that you have to visit the St. Lucia Pavilion. We have our products on sale, CMOS, we have Barrack Food products, we have other products on sale, and it's really an exciting opportunity to have presented St. Lucia. Already we are seeing significant increase in interest in our CIP program because people are visiting, they're seeing St. Lucia and what it has to offer. So in terms of the exports from St. Lucia, we've seen significant interest. We have distributors that have been coming to the pavilion to speak about how they can get St. Lucian products, especially our condiments and our CMOS. And in terms of investment, we actually had persons who've, had meetings with us at the pavilion in Dubai discussing possibilities for St. Lucia. So I think it has been a tremendous opportunity to showcase St. Lucia, to position brand St. Lucia, not just in MENA, the Middle East and North Africa, but also in Asia, in India, and other surrounding countries.
Okay. Thanks for that synopsis, Dr. Hille. There is another aspect of your portfolio that I'll perhaps leapfrog some of the others to go to, because I guess because of my history, a lot of people maybe believe that I know a lot more than I do know. And since I'm back, they've been asking me many questions. But many have said that information, the information aspect of your portfolio does not seem to be one that you have articulated much, if at all, about it. So I just wanted to ask you about, the information aspect. I do know there are many other things that perhaps will be top of the pecking order when it comes to priority because of the situation we find ourselves in. But about information, the information aspect of your portfolio, and as you know, Radio St. Lucia is one that I am inundated with questions about. So I'd like you, if you can just talk broadly about this to us.
Well, you're absolutely right in your assessment of the level of focus that has been given to information. It has not been totally ignored. I have been involved in a lot of discussions with various individuals who, are sharing with me their views, their perspectives, how we should move forward. There was a draft broadcasting act that was prepared a few years ago. I've asked the ministry to revive it and for us to start reviewing it, and that process has started. And we look at it to try to establish the relevance of all its provisions. There probably will not be changes, and there probably will be changes. We are looking at the staffing of GIS and NTN. There are two views now. A few years ago, GIS was kind of broken up, and individual ministries were given their own enhanced capacity to do their own information and communication work. And some people now feel that has kind of weakened GIS, and we should bring back and have a centralized entity. So it is something we're looking at. We are discussing right now. So we've had a review internally of some of the things that are needed to ensure we have the capacity to move forward, certainly in the information space. So there's been some work, but not the kind of high-profile work that you would have seen in CIP and investment and tourism and even creative industries. But we are making some progress.
Okay.
On the question of Radio St. Lucia, I have actually received 3 different proposals from individuals as to how we can restructure, reorganize, and have a renewed RSL. So there has been some work. Like I said, it's probably not as sexy as the tourism, creatives, and in CIP, but some work has taken place. But you will note in the coming months that we will have a greater focus on information.
Okay. Part of the proposals for bringing back RSL, do they involve picking up where was left off on the proposed merger of RSL with the GIS, NTN, and so on? Is that one of the? You said there have been 3 proposals.
Yes, that's one. That's certainly one of the options that's on the table, to have a merger.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Minister, there's a question from one of our viewers on the Facebook Live, and as we want to be audience friendly, she says, please be sure to ask Mr. Hille about the travel portal, and when they are looking to exclude locals, why should I have to get approval to come home? Thank you. Don't know if that's up your alley, but maybe as a member of the cabinet, senior member, you can shed some light on that.
Well, as the Ministry of Tourism, we do play a significant role in the management of the portal. Let me start off by saying the time has come for us to review the portal, and Cabinet yesterday reviewed the future of the portal, and an official announcement will be made tomorrow. I don't think the term travel authorization was the best to have used. People don't need approval to come to the island, to their country. It was really the approval of the documentation that is needed for travel. At the time of COVID, you would realize countries all over the world, and they still do have put in place, systems to ensure that they were aware of who was coming to their country and what risk and threat that were posed with the coronavirus. And that was normal. Our problem with our portal was that it was notoriously inefficient and notoriously frustrating for persons using it. And there are a lot of reasons for that, and I certainly don't want to go into it now. But I think given where the world is now with the coronavirus, given where we are now as a country, we need to take stock of whether we still need to have an approval or authorization for people to enter St. Lucia, or whether we cannot handle that aspect differently. And I think moving forward, you will see that's the approach that we will use. We still need to know the information on individuals coming, but I don't know whether necessarily they have to wait for an approval to be given that they have all the necessary documents. That can be handled otherwise.
Okay. Creative industries and culture, there is the organizing, I suppose, throughout the Caribbean, which is, of course, well known for its entertainment, its carnivals, its focus on culture, creative industries, and so on. How far should we go in reopening amid the COVID-19 pandemic? Hopefully, we're seeing the tail end of it. We don't know that for sure, but we have to take some measured steps. We can't remain away from what has made us for our whole lifespan, so to speak. So tell us where we're at in terms of making the decision. Yes, tomorrow is going to be the start of the Lenten season, of course. But in terms of making the start with things like festivals, national festivals and carnival and cultural activities are concerned, while at the same time watching how the wind is blowing very carefully insofar as the pandemic.
Well, I mean, I've been one who's been clamoring for more space for our creative industry, and certainly I believe that. Of course, you do, like you said, have to find the right balance, because when you think about it, the greatest risk to the spread of the virus is mass crowd events. Mm-hmm. The large numbers of people in close proximity to each other. That's the worst and the highest risk, to have. So we need to be cognizant of that. By its nature, events, festivals bring large numbers of people together in close proximity with each other. Nobody wants to enjoy a show or something and everybody 3 feet apart. It really does not lend itself. So we have to start off understanding that. So there would have always been more hurdles and greater hurdles facing the creative sectors, the events and festival sector. So we are prepared to move forward. We have been in intense discussion in the Ministry of Health on moving forward and establishing safe parameters for us to have some level of activities once again. And we said very early we are going to have Carnival this year. We call it Vax Mass because we believe as far back as last year that the changes have to start taking place. We've had a lot of meetings with Carnival bands, with promoters, with Calypsonians, with Pan Association. We've had meetings with CMO, with the Ministry of Health. And this Saturday again we are having a whole day working session to put in place all the protocols and procedures for us to be able to host Carnival in July. Once we've done that, I think we'll have a better sense. We've also started preparing for Emancipation Day celebrations, which we believe will be, a lot more involved than it had been in the past. We also started to talk about Creole Heritage Month in October, and maybe even the possibility of a music festival. So we are preparing for the opening up. We are preparing for the opening up, and we are preparing for us to have the event and festival sector going once again. But of course, we have to do so in the context of what's facing us. Omicron is certainly proving not to be as deadly as the Delta was, and therefore it gives us more space for us to do more. You still have to respect the basics, the fundamentals, washing your hands, sanitizing, wearing your mask, keeping 3 feet apart as much as possible to do so. But certainly the nature of the Omicron variant has given us more space, and therefore we have to, within the context of keeping the fundamentals, we have to start opening up the sector.
But as much as we would like to cut ourselves some slack, and Omicron looks like it's giving us a little bit of breathing space, we can't ignore the fact that our vaccination level or rate is exceedingly low. How do we cause this to meet? Yes, we want to open up our shoulders, give ourselves a little bit of wiggle room, but the vaccine hesitancy in our country is still notably high.
No, I mean, it is, and we had seen an uptick during the time of Delta when the consequences were very severe. But if Omicron, we've seen is virtually plateaued. And we are very clear in our minds, the events we organize in, the participants, spectators, service providers, even the creatives themselves must be vaccinated. We're very clear. We've encouraged people to be vaccinated, and we have to provide as much as possible opportunities for persons who are vaccinated. And I mean, just like I personally don't support forcing vaccination on anybody, I don't think we should force people who are vaccinated to be confined and constrained by regulations, that probably that's why they took the vaccine and the booster, was for them to be able to live a more normal life. And I think we should give them the space to do so. So our events will include only persons who are vaccinated, and therefore individuals will want to get vaccinated if they want to participate, should want to get vaccinated.
All right.
Yeah.
One of our viewers on Facebook says, Shelton, ask Ernest, who were the persons that Shastney had down to travel to Dubai? You're the Minister of Information.
Well, like I tell you, since elections, I know Guy Joseph and I think Nicole or one of them did travel to Dubai since elections. It really makes you wonder whether they had already received their tickets before elections, but I don't know.
So you don't know whether they traveled on the government's dime? I mean, it's not something...
No, I cannot tell you at this point.
Okay, but you will at some point. Because if you don't, you'll be the target of the next comment by someone called Darren Dennis, who says, I believe this government is too secretive. In my opinion, every cabinet meeting should be followed up with a press conference to inform the nation on what was discussed. After all, it is our business. I'm not saying to go in detail in an issue where fewer discussions are needed. But when the final decision has been made, you all should come out immediately and inform us. For example, we didn't know there's discussion in RSL. Please inform the nation in a timely manner. Do you think it's true that you and the government are wanting when it comes to the timely release of information?
Well, I mean, people always want more information, and certainly in the social media age, everyone believes that information should be immediately available and whatnot. So, I mean, I share some of those sentiments. We have decided, and the Prime Minister keeps saying that we need to have to commence our post-cabinet press briefings, which we are trying to put into place. And hopefully over the next week or two, we will commence having post-cabinet press briefings. But sometimes I believe we just need to be a little cautious. When do we put out information? Because some people are involved in discussions with you. You are making decisions, but you've not consulted all the immediate stakeholders yet. And therefore, you need to be really cautious how you just put out information without sensitivity, especially sensitive information, without recognizing that some people need to be informed first, they need to be consulted first. So information and dissemination is a process, and therefore sometimes you just have to respect the process.
All right. I suspect this may be the final question from a viewer that I'll pitch at you. This person says, can we get an update on the DSH?
This one is another ticklish issue, and it's not that I don't want to give out information, but there are some really high-level sensitive exchanges taking place between the government and DSH. I cannot go into more details as much as I want to, because I don't want to violate the process that is taking place now. But we are engaging DSH with a view to ensuring that the best interest of St. Lucia is protected. And, of course, very soon, hopefully, we'll be able to say more in public.
Can I put a little adjunct to the question myself by asking you,
sure,
is the long and short of it that DSH will remain with us? It's not going away. It's not something we're getting rid of, but we may make some little touches and tweaks to it and so on. Is that the gist of it?
Well, 2 points I would need to point out. The Labour Party is certainly pro-investment, pro-development, and we do not want to be acting or seem to be acting in a way which is, against that clear principle. And secondly, we've said from the start, when we started to express our views on DSH, that we were not against DSH as an investment project. We are against the terms and conditions that Alan Chastney signed with DSH. We did not believe they are in the best interest of St. Lucia. We were the ones who started negotiating with DSH. We did not sign an agreement with them because we did not believe we had favorable terms and conditions. Alan Chastney came in June 2016, and by July 2016, signed an agreement. We thought it was a bad agreement. We said so, and we said once we get into government, we will seek to renegotiate DSH and make sure that it is in the best interest of St. Lucia. We're not against investment. We need investment, both local and international and foreign, but it has to be in the best interest of St. Lucia. So all our discussions will be aimed at ensuring that whatever is in place is in the best interest of St. Lucia. As a government, you have to respect agreements and decisions made by whichever government, because that's the essence of government, is continuous. But we have to ensure that it's in the best interest of St. Lucia.
Dr. Hill, any parting words from you? Anything maybe you intended to say that my question didn't really zone in on?
Well, I think, first of all, before we go, I want to thank you once again for being back on the air, and certainly looking forward to future exchanges where I can share information with the public. I think we are preparing for the presentation of our first estimates at the end of March and our first budget in April. And I think the whole theme of putting people first is something you would have seen transcend all the activities and all what we've done since July last year. And certainly I ask the Lucians to look forward to the budget debate and the upcoming sessions of Parliament, where we continue to push the agenda of putting people first. And I'm sure they'll be very pleased with the government that they elected in July 2021.
Honorable Dr. Ernest Ile, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Tourism, Investment, Creative Industries, Culture and Information, elected Member of Parliament for Castries South, first Deputy Political Leader of the governing St. Lucia Labour Party. I want to thank you so much for agreeing at relatively short notice to be my first guest on this new program, The Real Issues, and we look forward to having you again in the hopefully not too distant future.
Okay, thank you very much, Shelton.
All right, and that's it. You know, great conversation, I'd say, if I may say so myself, and the feedback that I'm getting on the Facebook Live and other platforms indicates that you did enjoy it. Really, really appreciate having Dr. Hille on. And tomorrow we'll be having another guest, I can tell you, and that one too will be very interesting. Now, let me just see some of the comments that we keep on getting there. Yeah, the update on DSH, someone said that. All right, Winston Edward, tall boy, my friend from very, very long ago, former co-worker, says, Mr. Shelton Daniel, you were definitely missed on our airways. Keep the good vibes going. Thank you very much for that, my friend. All right, someone else really raised eyebrows at the person who said that the government is being too secretive. It's his opinion, you know. Sometimes we may feel the government's very forthcoming, another person may feel not forthcoming enough. This is sometimes we just have to understand, you know, this story we had about, what's it, 6 blind men or 6 men who were all touching a different part of an elephant and arguing that the tail is a rope, that the trunk is a snake, that the side is a wall, that the leg is a tree trunk, and so on. Perspective is really what it's about from the individual. Terry Alex asks, will there be 25 islands? She's talking about the DSH. Vilma Armidi says, while on updates, can I get one on Cabot, preferably to the Queen's Chain? I did see updates provided not too long ago, but of course, if we have an opportunity and there's something new, we will try to get to it and bring it to you on a subsequent program. I think that's where we have to wrap it up for today, the first of the Real Issues here on MBC Real FM. We will be here with you, all things equal, from 12:30 until 2 every weekday. And once again, we're working towards having a television program once a week on Sundays in the afternoon, precise time to be given to you. Its name has already been chosen. Will be produced and hosted by yours truly and called Focus. To my technician and all the support team here at MBC who have made this launch of our new program possible, and I would like to think successful. And most of all, to you, our listeners, to our viewers on the Facebook Live, for your time, for your comments, for your feedback, your encouragement and support. Shelton Daniel wishing you the best of the rest of today and looking forward to being in your superb company same time tomorrow. Goodbye for now.
Team Big 4 3052. Big 4 multi-X 5X. Pick 2 4 1. Pick 2 multi-X 2X 1 off 098. Lucky 3 020. Lucky 3 multi-X FP.
You're watching MBC.